Okay, gold diggers, I feel, are actually something that exists in this world. And I don't mean the fake ones that, you know, for example, FouseyTube did back in his old times of faking pranks. Like, I mean legit gold diggers that want you for their money. And I'll never forget my first gold digger. So I can't lie. Usually when I meet a girl, you start questioning, you know, what are their intentions and, you know, what, you know, they want with you and stuff like that. But I'm going to be honest, back in high school, that didn't really matter to me. Like, I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys when I say this. I was like the natural F-boy you would see in high school. Like, look at me. For God's sakes, does it not look like I would, you know, basically do anything that walks? I mean, at this point, from all the stories you guys heard, probably. Anyways, this story starts off in the theaters. So obviously, if you guys don't know, I had like this like friend group, and with this friend group, you know, the boys, we'll say, we usually like do things on the weekends together. Either that would be doing something really dumb on the street to even just going to a basic movie. And that's where this story starts off. Me and the boys were in the theaters together watching the newest Deadpool. I believe it was Deadpool 2, if I'm being totally exact, because this wasn't that long ago. This was 2018. And the movie came out, and I remember the boys wanted to go see the movie. So obviously, I got into my whip, aka the Silica. Like I always say in every video, I love that thing to death. And we got there and we sat down, and you know, we basically sat down getting ready for the movie. But as we sat there, we saw a large group of girls come in, and they were like, you know, very cute group of girls. Like they were hot. Okay, that's the main thing, honestly. Like, I want to say many chicks I've been with, I'm gonna be honest, like, even though I may not have like the best standards at that time, most of the chicks were hot. Okay, and this one was. So just deal with it. Anyways, a large group of girls came in while we were sitting in the back of the theater doing our own thing, and the girls kind of wanted the back of the theater as well, so they went to like the very left side of the theater while we were like in the middle. And as we were sitting there getting ready to watch the movie and stuff, I just kept seeing these girls giggle, and one of them was like staring me down and stuff. And it wasn't a bad thing, like it was just a natural thing. Like, I get it, you know, like I did look good that day. But then like the whole friend group started giggling, we started laughing, and then it just kept going back and forth of us just staring at each other. It was like my friend group would stare at them, and then their friend group would stare at us, and it's just a back and forth situation. So it got to the point where literally one of my like obnoxious friends were just like, yo, instead of staring, why don't you just come and join us? Now, I'm not gonna lie, even though usually that would be like a power move in a way, it wasn't the move with these girls, at least not for me, at least. Like, don't get me wrong, some of these girls were really great and fantastic, but the one I ended up with was decent. Like, she wasn't ugly, but she was just a mood killer in a way. I remember as the movie started and we were just sitting there, we were all watching the movie, you know, I see all my guy friends just chilling, you know, hanging, like each with a girl, just chilling, hanging out, putting their arm around them. I remember like the chick I was with, like, you know, we were doing kind of the same thing, but she would always complain about life. Like, this girl talked about politics more than like, you know, probably my dad and the TV, which is a lot, by the way. And she was telling me how, like, you know, she's basically broke and how this generation is screwed and all this stuff. And honestly, like, I personally didn't care. I kind of just wanted to see Deadpool kill some bitches. But going on though, as we were just kind of hanging out, doing our own thing, and everyone was just kind of doing stuff, it got to the point where like all my friends were making out with their chicks, and I was just staring at mine and just hearing her complain and stuff about how, you know, she's basically broke. And it got to a point where I was like, you know what, like, screw it. So I just started making out with her and just doing that throughout the night. And as we just hit first base, I look beside me and I literally just see all my friends like literally like basically almost doing the devil's tango with them in the theater. Which is, I mean, it's a normal thing with, you know, it's the guys, like it's whatever. So as that was going on, I remember the movie was like, you know, almost halfway through, and this chick literally looks beside me. She's like, hey, do you want to do me a favor and like go buy some food for me? I'm kind of hungry. Obviously, I didn't say no. I didn't want to be that guy, because let's be real here, we did just make out for like a decent like 20 minutes. So I was like, screw it, like, okay, fine, I'll go buy you some food. So I went out of the theater, I picked up some snacks. Obviously, I picked up my favorite snack, Skittles, and I went back into the theater. When I got back in there, she was just like, you know, sitting there doing her own thing, and I was just, you know, going up to her, sat down, and as I sat down, she just took the snacks right away, and she's like, oh, I wish you got like better snacks, but this works too. Like, what? Like, be thankful I bought you snacks. And she didn't like Skittles. Like, what kind of chick doesn't like Skittles? If you're a chick that doesn't like Skittles, thumbs down. Okay, just no, like, automatic red flag for me, at least. So after the movie, things were all right. Like, I'm not gonna lie, things were okay. And I remember I was getting ready to leave with my guy friends. We were just all getting into our cars and leaving. But as I saw that, I saw like all the girls were like going to like the bus, and they were all going together, but this girl didn't want to take the bus that I was sitting with the movie with. She was like totally refusing it, and she's like, I don't want to go on the bus, like it's not really my vibe, like, Bubba, can you like drive me instead? Obviously in my head, I'm like, do I really want to spend that gas money right now? Because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't fill my tank because the theater was close to my place, but I still drove because I love my car, like I say all the time. And I'm like, you know what, screw it, like that's fine. Me expecting she would pay gas money or something out of like being kind and stuff, she just full on said thanks and got in my car and just expected me to drive her all the way. So I did. And on the way, she was like telling me about like her life and everything, and how, you know, she doesn't want to get a job because there's no point and all this stuff. Like, she was just doing the basic complaints, and she would talk about like, you know, how like she wished she had my car and everything. And at that point I was like, you know what, whatever. When I drove her to her place, I dropped her off, and she's asking me to hang out again the next day. And as I dropped her off, I remember she was like telling me how she wanted to hang out again, how she really liked me and stuff. And I remember her saying this specifically. She told me, so like, you know, whenever you're free, just kind of like come over and we can like go out to like the mall or something. For some reason, I don't know what it was. I guess I was like desperate in a way. I kind of just went with it and said, sure, why not? I'm down tomorrow. So we ended up going the next day. And what ended up happening was absurd. So the next day, I remember I picked her up and I took her to the mall. And we were just walking around the mall doing normal things. You know, it was just me and her, basic stuff. And I remember we went into one store and she was like going and chilling. And, you know, she was just looking at stuff and shoes. And then she saw these pair of Vans. Now, these pair of Vans weren't like extremely amount of money. Like they were like 40 bucks. And I didn't really care. It was like a decent 40 bucks. And she was telling me like, oh, like I wish I had these pair of Vans. Like they're really cool. Like you would be such a good guy if you got them for me. And me in my head, I'm thinking, am I gonna end up doing the devil's tango with this girl if I buy these? That's like the only thing I was thinking. I know it's kind of bad, and if you're a woman and thinking, wow, this guy really just wanted her for the devil's tango, I mean, you're not wrong in a sense, but I'm different now. I just want to make that really clear before people on Twitter just start going like, oh my goodness, like he's just using girls for like I'm not, that's not the case. Anyways, though, I bought her the pair of Vans. You know, I was being nice to her and stuff, and honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, she had black Air Forces, and I'm gonna be honest, no girl looks good in black Air Forces. And then I got her those, and then as we were just chilling, walking around, I remember she kept going up to things and saying, you know, the same line over and over. She kept saying how, oh, I'd be such a good guy if you bought this for me. And it kept going and going to the point where I was like, you know what? Like, my wallet's in trouble if I hang out with this chick. And I realized that, like, I noticed red flags, and it got to the point where I was like, yeah, this girl's not even worth it. Like, no thanks. So I remember I pretended I had like a family emergency at home. So I pulled up my phone, put it up against my ear, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, like I'm on the way. Like, I gotta go. So I literally said, like, I gotta leave. Sorry, family emergency. She's like, okay, like, just drop me off home. And obviously, you know, I brought her there, so I might as well bring her back. I drove her back home, and I drove back home myself. As I was home, I remember I was playing Xbox with the boys, you know, playing For Honor. If you guys play For Honor, I know most of you guys do. It's a really banger game. Only the real boys know. And as I was playing with them, hanging out, I was telling them about my experience and stuff, and they were telling me like, oh, that's tough, like that's gross and stuff like that. But then after that, my friend pulls out his phone and he tells me, did you leave her at the mall? Obviously said no. I said no, I dropped her off home. Like, what do you mean, did I leave her at the mall? And then he told me, well, her snap map still says she's in the mall, bro. At that point, I'm like, what? So I remember I got my keys and I drove to the mall to see what was going on, and I saw she was hanging out with another guy wearing the Vans I bought her, and basically she was doing a shopping spree with this other guy. And at that point, I was like, damn, bro, like she's a hardcore gold digger. Like, this is actually it. So I remember what I did was I took a picture of her and this guy. I sent it to her as a snap, and I was like, huh, nice shoes. And I ended up leaving out of there being a total savage. And then she went on, you know, saying like, oh, like you wouldn't buy me this, so like you weren't really like the guy that was worth it. Apparently, like, she determines people by how much they have in their wallet. And at that point, even though it was like total heartbreak, I'm not gonna lie, guys, if you guys ever go for like a gold digger or anything that's, you know, a person that's not worth it, okay, gold diggers are naturally just a dangerous thing. Like, just if you don't have a lot in your wallet, I suggest you guys download Salad and actually maybe make some bank while you're AFK on your PC and use code Bubba. But other than the sponsor, I'm not gonna lie, guys, just stay away from gold diggers. Not worth it. And like I always say, fall for more crazy stories. Peace. Okay, so in no way am I a thief, but this story is about how I stole from basically a billionaire's daughter. Niggas are probably wondering, like, why would you do that? Stealing is not good. Stealing is illegal. And I will tell you guys how this went down. But also, before I do, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe if you guys do enjoy these stories and want more crazy stories like this. And obviously, like I always say, let's get just straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy story. So this story is about something back when I was in actually high school. It was my last year of high school. I was in grade 12, and well, I was just the average student. Or at least people thought I was. I don't know, in high school, I was very insecure of some things, but at the same time, I wasn't that insecure. I kind of had that playboy look where I was like, you know, I was attractive, but I would deny I'm attractive, so girls would like me more. It's kind of a method I used to have, but anyways, going on. Back in high school, I remember there was this one girl that my friend was dating, and she was like an ultra million and billionaire. Don't ask how I know this, but let's just say, like, her family was really, really rich. And I guess from a family being rich, she was a very privileged girl. And knowing my buddy was dating her was really cool. But at the same time, it did equal out because, well, I'm not gonna lie to you, they were both rich. Her boyfriend was rich, she was rich, you know, the whole family was rich. It just worked out. It was like one of those, like, you know, really weird movies where like the high school girl that's like the most popular in the movie, I guess, was like considered like the rich kid, if that makes sense in any way. But going on, I remember back when I was in high school, I remember going up to my buddy one time in the hallway, and I'd asked him, I was like, oh, like, bro, like, how you doing? Like, what's going on? But he didn't seem like himself. Now, obviously, something was really off with him. I didn't know what, and obviously, you know, being the good friend I was, I asked him. I said, hey, bro, like, yo, is everything all right? Like, you feeling all right? Then he told me, dude, like, my girlfriend just broke up with me, and I don't know why. Like, I gave her everything. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know how, you know, a girl that has everything was able to give her everything. It just didn't make sense. And then I remember later on that day, I decided to walk away, and I decided to, you know, basically just, you know, maybe give him some distance, because obviously going through a breakup, I think one of the main things you do need is distance from everybody to kind of reconcile what went on. Going on though, I remember when I was basically to myself and hanging out, I saw his girlfriend, but his girlfriend was just normal. She didn't seem upset. She didn't seem mad. She just seemed herself. And I remember I went up to her and I was like, hey, like, I just heard about the breakup. I just want to say, like, you know, if there's anything you need, just tell me. Like, I feel bad. Now, usually his girlfriend would not talk to me because obviously they were dating and also I'm not rich, but she just told me, oh, like, he was just like the worst in bed. Like, honestly, like, he was just so like ungiving and he doesn't give me what I want. Like, he was just the worst. In my head, I literally thought there was no way this rich girl broke up with my buddy just because he was really bad at doing the devil's tango. And yeah, I walked away. Now, you guys are probably wondering, oh, okay, so now we know who the rich girl is in the story, but what happens? Well, basically, I remember later on that week, my buddy came up to me one day and told me, bro, I'm like so upset. Like, I don't know what to do, man. And I thought he was talking about his breakup, but then he told me, like, I literally like gave her like a $200,000 ring and I don't know what to do because like it was my mom's ring, but I stole it from her and now my mom's looking for it and I'm screwed. And in my head, I'm thinking, dude, there is no way you just gave a girl your mom's ring that is worth $200,000. It made no sense to me. But then he says, yeah, dude, and like she wouldn't let me near her house anymore. Nothing. Like I like we're broken up. Like I don't know what to do. And I told him, don't worry. Why? Because I had a plan. So I officially launched doing a heist. Not a bank heist, not a, you know, a jewelry heist. Well, it kind of was a jewelry heist, but it was a basic robbery. Now, me telling the story, I could probably get arrested, but at the same time, probably not, because it was like Robin Hood, you know, like I give back to the poor. Well, he wasn't poor. Never mind. Anyways, going on. Me and him sat down in the classroom by ourselves and basically thought of a plan. And honestly, this plan worked. And as I tell the story, you guys will recognize this plan. So I advise you guys keep watching. I remember as like we were planning this, he told me, dude, do you think this is gonna work? I don't think this is gonna work. And to be honest, I don't really like the idea of you doing the devil's tango with my girlfriend. But I told him this would be the only way. And yes, I did tell him that. I'm not gonna lie, his girlfriend was pretty hot too. I think that was just a bonus in the mission, but going on. I remember one day she was going to a club, or a party, I should say. And when she went to that party, she only had like certain people join in, mostly her rich friends. And me, well, I'm not gonna lie, I can rock a suit. If you guys have ever seen my Instagram, you guys can know I can rock a pretty nice suit. And I remember I wore a suit and I got my suit and tie and all like, you know, dressed up. And I went to that party. Did I have an invite? No. But it was the only way I could actually get in contact with the girl. Now, I remember as I was about to head to the club or where the party was at, my friend told me that I could not drive my Silica there because she would automatically recognize that I was not rich. And obviously, we ended up going inside his garage at his house and he ended up having an extra vehicle. But this was no ordinary vehicle. This was a classic Camaro, a really nice black classic Camaro. Honestly, I had to do it. I got in the car and I started driving it. And honestly, it was like I was living a dream. Knowing I was wearing a full-on suit and driving a really nice car, hell, I still do it to this day ever since I got my Jaguar. But going on, I remember when I got ready and stuff and I started heading there, I was panicking because obviously this was, you know, I was doing a heist. I was literally gonna steal from a rich girl. But anyways, I got to the party and club and when I got there, I saw her. She was all dressed up, looking really good. And honestly, I remember I walked up to her. At first, she didn't recognize me. She was like, sorry, did I invite you? And I look at her and I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. How you doing? As I went to shake her hand, I wore my dad's Rolex and she instantly recognized it. She recognized the Rolex, but she didn't really recognize me because she kept looking at all, I guess, my outfit or how rich I looked. She started liking me. And I don't know how, but I remember I was basically talking through her the entire night and using, you know, the $300 that my friend gave me to buy her drinks. We drank, we had a good time, and honestly, she invited me back to her place. First part of the mission, successful. How did I pull it off? I have no idea. Then after that, we kept talking, we kept, you know, hanging out, and I remember when we went out of the club and, you know, I put her in my car, she was shocked. She said, oh, like my ex-boyfriend's dad has like one of these. These are like really classic. Like this is really cool. Funny enough, it was actually her ex-boyfriend's dad's car. Honestly, it was kind of funny how she didn't recognize it, but I guess she was never in it. We went back to her place and we went inside this giant mansion. Now this house was huge. She was a millionaire for God's sakes. Like it was obvious. We went inside, her parents were already asleep and we went to her room. I remember when we went inside her room, I was like, whoa, this place looks really cool. Can you give me like a little like, you know, room tour? Saying as if I'd never seen a big room before. Actually, I haven't at this time. That's kind of sad. But going on, she gave me a little room tour. She showed me where everything was. From her really high-end shoes to her walk-in closet to her bathroom and a bathtub like she has a shower and a bathtub in like the same like room. Like what? Let's just say she lived in a really nice place. I remember as I was looking around, I'm like, dude, where is this ring? We need to find this ring. But before I could find the ring, I remember she was like already kind of like getting on to me. And let's just say the only way I was actually gonna be able to spend the night is if I did the devil's tango. That way I would have enough time to look around, get the ring, and get it back. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what happened. I did the devil's tango with a millionaire's daughter. After that happened, I remember it was like 3 a.m. She was passed out beside me, but obviously I still needed to find the ring. So I remember I got my phone flashlight and I turned it on and I walked around her place in my boxers. I walked around her room looking for the ring. And honestly, I remember as she was giving me the room tour, her walk-in closet had like this like jewelry box. So I remember I went inside that closet and I opened that jewelry box and there it was. The $200,000 ring that my friend gave her. I remember taking the ring and I instantly hid it inside my pants pocket that was on the ground. I put it in there so when I woke up in the morning and put it on, I would just automatically have it. After that, I laid back in bed and then she woke up. She woke up out of nowhere and turned to me saying, "Is everything all right?" I was like, "Oh yeah, everything's fine. You know, I'm just chilling." And then she told me, "Honestly, like this was really good. Like you're so much better than my ex," and laid back down and slept. Honestly, I guess you could say I did the devil's tango to the point where she passed out. That sounds really bad. Actually, no, I did not do that. Oh my God. Anyways, going on. The next morning came by and I remember I got suited up and ready. But I remember as she like saw me like, you know, getting suited up, let's just say, she recognized who I was. She looked at me saying, "Wait a minute, aren't you friends with my ex-boyfriend?" And I looked at her saying, yeah, maybe." She looked at me and said, "Are you serious? Are you doing this behind his back? Oh my goodness, you are absolutely disgusting." She told me to get out and that's what I did. I got out, I went and got the Camaro, drove back to his place, and everything kind of started connecting to her. She ended up calling her ex-boyfriend that I was friends with, like literally right after that whole situation happened, and I already left, thank God. And I remember they were just yelling back and forth on the phone, but as I dropped off the car, I remember him standing in the driveway waiting for me, and I gave him the ring, and I told him, "Mission accomplished." And I remember the words right after he said to me was, "Dude, you gotta teach me the ways of you doing the devil's tango," because she won't stop talking about it. I ended up getting into my car, the Silica, and I told him that's a story for another day. Same as this. If you guys enjoyed the story, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Seriously, I hope you guys did enjoy this crazy bank heist story that I did, or heist in general. And like I always say, fall for more embarrassing stories. All right, peace out, guys. Okay, so I've picked up many jobs growing up, but one thing I never expected to be was a girl's assistant. Like I was an assistant. Can you imagine your parent walking up to me saying, "Oh, can you be my daughter's or son's assistant?" Yeah, never expected it. But obviously, before the story starts, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, I am live on Kick streaming, telling crazy stories just like this live. But anyways, let's just jump straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story takes place back when I was actually out of high school. I remember out of high school, I didn't become a YouTuber right away because obviously I didn't end up actually making this a job until like 2 years later. But I remember I was jumping job to job, and one time I worked at a construction site. I was working on a construction site, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty jacked. And me, I ended up gaining a lot of muscle, and I basically ended up getting more attractive than I am now. I will admit I lost a lot of weight, but that's because I sit on a computer all day, beating my meat and playing games. Okay, that sounds really sad, but going on, I remember what ended up happening is basically one time when I was working the construction site, I was doing the normal thing and moving some 2x4s to another part of the construction site. Until I remember when I was unloading it from the truck, I ended up seeing a guy with a really nice car walk up to me. He walked up to me and said, "Excuse me, how old are you?" "Oh, like I'm 19, just out of high school," is what I told him. And he ended up telling me, "Well, how long have you been working here for?" I don't know, like a couple months. Why? What's up?" He ended up saying, "Well, how much do they pay you here?" Now, when he asked how much they paid me, I thought he was probably like another dude from another construction site, probably trying to hire me. So I ended up telling him, I don't know, like 20 bucks an hour. He looked at me and said, "What if I told you you can work with me for 50 bucks an hour?" 50 bucks an hour is what I told him. Now, $50 an hour is like crazy money that most people can't give. So I ended up looking at him laughing, saying, "Okay, dude, there's no way." And then that's when he told me, "No, there is a way. Do you know anything about being an assistant?" Now, when he said assistant, I thought like maybe an assistant to the construction site or something. So I ended up telling him, "Oh yeah, like I have a lot of experience." Why? Just so I can, you know, get this job that he was offering. And that's when he told me, here's my address on the card. Just take it and I'll meet you at my place tomorrow morning, 7. Don't show up for work here. Come straight to my place. I ended up looking at him and saying, "Oh, thanks." And I grabbed the card away from his hand and held it. But as I was holding it, I remember he looked at me one more time and told me, "Oh, by the way, wear a suit." "A suit?" is what I said. And then he walked away. I remember that day I ended up going home and I told my parents about what happened, and they they said to maybe go check it out. And I remember when I read the business card, I was really confused because this guy's name was like apparently a really well-known name in my city. The next day, I remember I ended up basically going to my car and wearing a really nice suit that I wore for grad. And I basically ended up driving with my blue Toyota Celica all the way to his house. When I got there, I remember I looked around for the house, but honestly, I couldn't find it until I realized that it was gated by a super large white fancy gate. And when I saw this gate, I'm like, bro, there is no way he lives here. I remember the gate opened and I instantly saw that this house was like a mega mansion, like a mega mansion. Like it's almost bigger than Drake's. Okay, it's not bigger than Drake's, but you guys get what I mean. It was insane. I remember I looked around and I started really realizing that people that are rich really have a good life. And from there, I ended up parking my car, getting out of it, and instantly, right as I got out of my car, I ended up seeing a basketball hit my hood of my car. I remember I saw it and I'm like, hey, like where'd the ball come from? And that's when a kid walked up to me wearing a really preppy school uniform from like a private school. And he told me, oh, like, sorry. Oh, you must be the new assistant is what he told me. Yeah, I'm looking for this guy. I ended up basically telling him the name and he told me, oh, that's my dad. Here, I could show you where to go. He ended up grabbing like the sleeve of my jacket and dragging me to the front door. And when we went to the front door, I remember instantly the door opened and there he was. He looks at me and says, oh, I see you met my son. Yeah, a cool kid is what I said. So, am I gonna be your assistant? Is what I told him. And then that's when he said, oh, no. You're gonna be my kid's assistant. Your kid's assistant is what I told him. And then that's when I told him that I wasn't a babysitter. Afterwards, he's like, oh, no, not him, her. I ended up looking around, seeing what he meant by her. And that's when I looked at this grand staircase that he had inside the house. And that's when I saw her come down. It was a girl that was wearing a really high-end like designer outfit. And she was walking down the stairs saying, oh, dad, who's here now? And that's when her dad said, oh, it's the new assistant that I hired for you. I remember this girl looked at me and just started smiling. I don't know why, but her eye contact with me was like scary because she would stare me down like a hawk. I didn't know what I was doing and I was really confused, but I ended up saying, oh, yeah, I'm your new assistant. Trying to play it cool so I don't look really dumb because I did tell this guy that I had experience. I remember from there, she instantly went inside her like purse that she had and ended up throwing me car keys to a Lamborghini and said, oh, okay, well, can you pull out the car? Like, we got to go for a drive. Okay, is what I said. And from there, I ended up basically opening the garage door and I saw a bright blue Lamborghini just sitting there. I look at it and I unlocked the door, opened it, and I basically just waited. I waited outside the car door by, the driver's side door. And when the girl walked out, I opened the door for her, but she didn't get in. She looked at me and said, what are you doing? Opening the door for you? Yeah, I know, but aren't you supposed to open the passenger door? The passenger door is what I said. And that's when she said, yeah, you're my assistant. You drive my car. Oh, okay. So I ended up opening the passenger side door, and then afterwards I got into the driver's seat of a Lamborghini and drove this girl around. Honestly, I will say this much, it was the best thing ever. I got to drive this girl everywhere. As we were driving though, I remember halfway through when we were listening to some music, I think we were listening to Kesha of all things, she ended up turning down the music and said, you're not like the other assistants. Where are you from and how old are you? Oh, I'm 19 and I worked at a construction site. Actually, I never actually been an assistant, but don't tell your dad that, please, is what I told her. And that's when she started laughing and saying, oh, you're cute. And then afterwards turned back up the music. She called me cute and I didn't know why, but I was kind of confused. Going on from there, I remember we ended up taking her to the mall. We had a good time and I'm not gonna lie. One thing I realized about this girl is that she was being really flirtatious with me. Like anywhere we went, she would grab my arm. She would basically get really close to me. And she even offered to buy me a couple things, which I did not take, by the way, because I didn't want her dad knowing that she was buying me things. But going on from there, I remember as me and this girl were walking around, I ended up seeing my ex-girlfriend at the mall, and this girl that I was assisting was with me. And I remember I ended up kind of panicking because you know that feeling when you see your ex somewhere and you just don't want to see them, but you start panicking? I had that feeling and I kind of froze. And I remember the girl that I was assisting looked at me and said, what's wrong? And she saw that I was staring at this girl and said, oh, like, do you like her or something? No, that's my ex-girlfriend is what I told her. And that's when she ended up coming really close to me. And then my ex-girlfriend ended up seeing me be close to this girl. And what she did afterwards when my ex looked at me was this girl that I was with assisting ended up kissing me right in the mall in front of her. Wow, is what I said afterwards. What'd you do that for? And then that's when she said, oh, I just wanted to make her jealous. And then we ended up walking away and we actually ended up going straight back to the Lamborghini. And right as I got onto the Lamborghini. My ex was at the door seeing me walk around with this girl. We basically ended up getting in the car and driving back home. I remember I was really just kind of weirded out that she kissed me, but at the same time, I didn't really know what to think. And then I remember when we got home, her dad wasn't home, and me and her, we ended up basically going up to her room, and I basically stood by the door waiting. I didn't enter the girl's room because, well, I didn't know if I was allowed to. And then one thing led to another. I remember this girl ended up looking at me saying, oh, like, can you get the shower ready? The shower is what I said? Yeah, like, go turn on the water. Don't be such a weirdo. And then instantly from there, I remember I went to the bathroom and saw this amazing, massive bathroom. Like, this thing was the highest quality bathroom I've ever seen in my life. Like, it even has those toilets that shoot up water. Isn't that like cool or what? Anyways, after I turned on the shower, I remember turning around and instantly right there, I saw the girl that I was assisting, the rich guy's daughter, and basically she was wearing a robe, and that's it, nothing else. She was just wearing a robe. I remember I looked at her saying, oh, sorry, I'll get out of here, is what I told her. And then she ended up saying, okay, if you want. And that's when she ended up taking off her robe, and she was, well, not wearing anything in front of me. Like, she was wearing nothing, not even underwear. I remember I looked at her and I'm like, okay. And one thing led to another. She ended up coming really close to me and kissing me again. And let's just say we ended up doing the devil's tango in the bathroom. Yeah, I'm not even joking. We did it in the bathroom. Out of all the places to do it in the mega mansion, we did it in the bathroom. Anyways, we ended up going in the shower as well, and I took a shower and so did she. And I remember after we finished the shower, I ended up getting my clothes on and I ended up basically walking out of the bathroom with her. And obviously I put on my suit, but my hair wasn't fully dried yet. And when me and her both walked out of the bathroom, her dad was outside the bathroom door and basically saw me and her walk out, and I got fired. Yeah, I got fired out of a job for 50 bucks an hour. And also, you know what's the worst part? He only paid me half. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, just follow for more embarrassing but crazy stories. Peace out, guys.